Since we're a level analysis channel, it should come as no surprise that we kinda love the Mega Man series. It's incredibly tightly designed. Its traps are usually well telegraphed, making each challenge fair and exciting, and it was among the first platformers to feature non-linear level selection, which creates a lot of opportunities for playing the game as you'd like to play it. One of its greatest strengths, then, should be in its weapon selection. What a cool idea, gaining the powers of your fallen foes, and exploiting weaknesses that you were clever enough to figure out. There's a bit of a puzzle element at play. Sure, you can charge through any fight with most weapons, but the best Robot Master fights don't just take more damage from a given weapon, the weapon also counters and strikes in tandem against their attack patterns, making you feel clever when you figure it out. Unfortunately, there is one niggling problem, and it's one so fundamental to the experience that I don't anticipate it going away anytime soon. The Mega Buster. Now, don't misunderstand me. The Mega Buster feels incredibly good to use. It capitalizes on that twitch reflex mentality by having some of the fastest moving projectiles while still being very easy to understand. Its charge shot is something of a debate within the community whether it's good or bad, but I personally like it with how it balances risk and reward. It has better damage per second, but you lose the charge if you take damage. Damage that's more likely to happen since you can't clear out small enemies individually as quickly. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say that from a point of view of sheer entertainment to use, it's one of my favorite weapons in the series, and it makes the idea of a Buster-only run that much more appealing. It's an ideal fallback weapon, one that you can always rely on, one that gives you a good starting point, one that makes you not have to rely on the Robot Master weapons you might hate using. And all of that, despite looking like decent praise, makes up a lot of my complaints with the weapon when looked at from a broader context. For starters, having only the Mega Buster available will inevitably make the first stage you play the hardest, at least until the Wily stages. You don't have the boss's weak point after all, making the player have to overcome a major hurdle right at the start when they're still getting used to the game. Now, Capcom tries to mitigate this somewhat by giving one or two Robot Masters a small weakness to the Buster itself, but this creates its own issues. Remember how one of the biggest innovations of the Mega Man series was its non-linear level progression? Well, once you figure out who to fight first through trial and error, game facts, or a weakness that's actually hinted at for once, you're left with a largely linear experience, and an objectively best path to take. Sure, you can throw Metal Blades in any order you'd like, since Metal Blade is OP as hell, and Mega Man 3 tries to mix it up with two separate loops, even if all that really accomplishes is making Snake Man a butt to deal with. But these strike me as band-aid solutions that don't fix the core issue here. It's made even worse because the Mega Buster being the only option at first teaches the player that it's what you should be using. That using Robot Master weapons and levels is somehow cheating since you can clear any stage with just the Buster. In fact, why change weapons at all past the initial novelty? The player's already gone through a rough first level using Buster only. Why would they change the controls on themselves now? Robot Masters are pretty well-designed fights for the most part, with intense, intricate patterns. Okay, usually intricate patterns that ultimately don't matter because they're designed with the Buster in mind. It's made worse when the Robot Master weapons have limited ammo, encouraging you to save them for a time that probably won't ever come. And honestly, what a shame that is. To feel dissuaded from using all your cool new weapons in favor of the same old Buster you have in every game. Now, it might sound like I'm complaining about a problem with no solution, but honestly, there's a really clear one that fixes everything. Cut the Mega Buster entirely, or at least make it a Robot Master weapon or like a Dr. Light item itself. But I hear you screaming, but designing 4! Then you won't have anything to fight the first boss with! And It's a fair point, but one that's easily solved. You know the intro stage in Mega Man X? It's a little famous. This guy named Egoraptor did a video on it. Probably have seen it at least twice if you're looking at this channel at all. Well, here's a thought. What if part of that intro stage was an open, non-threatening area? In this area, there would be all 8 Robot Master weapons floating there to select from. Here, you can test them out to your heart's content, and find which one you most click with. But once you're done with that intro stage, that's it. You can't get any other weapon till you beat the Robot Master. In other words, I'm saying make it into the copy ability select screen from the arena mode in the Kirby series. Just think of what this could do to the level design. Weapon energy is no longer necessary, and every weapon would be roughly equal in power. Every boss could be beaten by any weapon, but they would be balanced with the weakness in mind, forcing you to do cool things with your new weapons that you never thought possible. The rush upgrades could be given when you fight the Robot Master whose weapon you started with, instead of arbitrarily scattered around, which would reward you for beating all of them, or would reward you more if you went against the grain and killed the boss early, without its weakness. It'd give you a clue onto how the weapon works, which might help you figure out the puzzle of the boss order. Any starting points you would have would be almost as viable as any other, with most of it coming down to your own taste. And you'd get your favorite weapon right at the start, with a sampling of what's to come as you experiment around the first level. It would honestly fix so much. Unfortunately, I don't think that Capcom would actually ever do any of this. The Mega Buster is just too iconic, too fun to use, and ultimately too marketable. Weapons like the Flash Stopper would have to be totally reworked, and creating equal balance is a lot harder than just making 8 powers with situational usefulness. Heck, this was tried as a novelty in Mega Man Powered Up, being able to control the Robot Master for the full game. But some were clearly better suited to this than others, making it no more than just a fun extra. Making Mega Man into a pure chameleon-type character would fix some fundamental game design problems. But such a fundamental change might cause a split in the fanbase. Still, with so many Mega Man-esque indie games on the market, I hope one of them picks up on this and questions something so seemingly ingrained into the gameplay style's DNA. But until that happens, the simple, quintessential Mega Buster stands out as one way to design for overcentralization.
Mega Man, super fighting